Alright guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account and we are continuing with our tier list. That is right guys, we only have 2 more to go and this one is going to be the mages. Now overall guys, when you look at some of the basic mages of AFK Arena, when you look at Shamira, she used to be the absolute carry when it came to previous before Damon, but now we have seen a really strong push for mages with the awakened version of Belinda, who absolutely dominates every single game mode. But then when you look at Scarlet, when you look at Ainz, when you look at Matria, there are some really strong mages within AFK Arena. So let's go ahead and we'll break out the tier list and break down exactly how these heroes play out. All right, guys, so here we are with our tier maker. So we're going to go through this. I did change it up, guys, from the niche. So ultimately, it is useful heroes. Again, kind of the niche heroes that we had in there. I know there was a big controversy with Mulan not being as effective as we've kind of seen her in the past. So overall, guys, she is a little bit effective. I would have put her up in a higher tier. But looking at our top tier, we have, of course, the awakened version of Belinda that we just talked about, guys. Now, she is probably the optimal, the primary hero in AFK Arena as of today. She is the strongest awakened hero that we have. She puts out damage like no other, and she is best in slot in every single game mode in AFK Arena that we have. She holds one of the absolute best in slots, and we have entire formations that are built entirely around that awakened version of Belinda. Now, next one we look at is Scarlet. Scarlet, again, has an incredible amount of utility. If you don't have Belinda, Scarlet is really the solid choice for a lot of different game modes. Scarlet is also still the best in slot for a couple game modes, including the Cursed Realm, where we are still seeing her doing a lot of damage. Now, similar to the awakened version of Belinda, Scarlet can put out a lot more burst damage very fast. So if it is single target burst damage, Scarlet is really where she shines, is that single target burst damage. If you're running, let's say, the Cursed Realm with 5 heroes in the enemy team, that is where the awakened version of Belinda will do a lot more damage because she has multiple targets to hit with the AoE with that ultimate ability. Now looking here, we also do have Oden. Now when it comes to the Mage Tower, when it comes to a lot of different formations, Oden is still the best in slot, guys. Not only the disruption for the formation, but also the energy reduction that he provides and the damage. So we have seen him run most recently with the awakened version of Athalia. Athalia, of course, amplifies the damage that he does, allowing him to just literally explode when it comes to damage, guys. He is such a still strong dynamic hero within AFK Arena. Then we have Matria, of course, the awakened hypo hero that isn't really awakened from anyone, so it is just Matria. Overall, again, super effective when it comes to a build, not only having all of the hypo heroes that are running in the team comps with her, but she has also run solo in Nightmare Corridor and the Cursed Realm, which works incredibly well. Then when you transition to the PvP with the Treasure Scramble with the LC Tournament, she is run with a bunch of Hypogens, which again, she has a double buff with the SP effect, which makes her super strong, guys, for the buffer and also the damage she's putting out within those formations. Then, of course, we have Ainz. Ainz is, his utility has slowly kind of slipped through the power creep, but he is still a super effective hero, guys. When it came to getting my class-specific artifacts, I used Ainz, and literally Ainz Albedo just crushed every single mode, every single voyage that we had in there. When it comes to voyages, Ainz will do incredibly well. You can even use a bunch of different combinations of heroes to actually buff him up, including, of course, Albedo, but he is still very strong in formations. The Ainz comp ultimately still works. We still see the Ainz comp run in a bunch of different formations, still see it in campaign formation, still see it in the Temple Rift. It's still, again, fundamentally that team comp works incredibly well. Even though we have a couple stronger heroes that just put out more damage, Ainz will still work. And then, of course, we have Amelia, guys. I put Amelia in the top tier because of the utility we're seeing with her, the energy regeneration that she provides, hand in hand with the crowd control. Now, out of Amelia and Rem, I would go with Rem first. Amelia is, again, making kind of her presence felt within a bunch of different game modes, especially in the Treasure Scramble. We are seeing a lot of utility there. A lot of players are also running her in the Temple Rift, and we really don't know the true power of Rem and Amelia, guys, because all of the players do not have them on global. Again, the players that only possess the heroes right now are the players that have purchased them, which means the utility for these two heroes usually go up significantly when they get the global release, when actually free-to-play players and other players can get the copies of them and seeing exactly where they are used. Next one we look at is the required and comps, guys. Now these are some of the heroes that build the comps, and again we're going to run through this. So looking at Mahira, of course is the Charizard comp. If you do not have Mahira, that comp does not exist. Now when it comes to Kazard is actually one of the staple heroes that are run within the Mahira comp with the Charizard. Now ultimately he is being utilized in a bunch of different formations, even run up here with Amelia. We have seen him kind of going into, again, a bunch of different formations. But when it comes to campaign, we are still seeing Mahira ringing true. Even when it comes to the Hypo Tower, Mahira and Kazard combination is super, super effective within those team comps. Still using a lot. Now, Kazard, of course, with that plus 30 signature item, which you get at Mythic, is extending the duration by 60%. I know they changed it, I believe, to dissolve points, but fundamentally it still does the same thing. Only time that it really changes a lot is when you go into PvP, and depending on what other opponents do carry, what they have for the points themselves. So they did change up his percentage a little bit, but again, fundamentally, if you're fighting the enemy teams, it still works. Then we have Scrath, guys. Scrath, again, still a lot of utility, and he is the 5-pole. Between Eron and Scrath, that is what made the 5-pole. A lot of players still using the 5-pole, even utilizing it within the Thorn Cheese. We are also seeing it with the Lucretia pole. We are also seeing it with Matria. We have seen a lot of the 5-pole between those two heroes that, again, still fundamentally works incredibly well. And that is right, guys. The next one is Pippa. Pippa made this. Big reason for Pippa, guys, is the Thorn Cheese. Again, kind of a useful hero, kind of required in comps. Fundamentally, a lot of the Thorn Cheese comps will not work without Pippa, because Pippa will actually teleport Thorin to the area of the most heroes, and that is how we can get the Thorn Cheese to work. Pippa, again, short of that Thorn Cheese, not really a lot of utility. Still seeing her somewhat in the Wilder Tower. But when it comes to the Thorn Cheese, a lot of them do require Pippa, and it also requires Pippa with the plus 20 signature item, which is really the big driving factor to that teleportation that she does. Then the last one, guys, is of course Leonardo da Vinci. He provides an incredible amount of crowd control, not only with the Renaissance cannon, I think it's called, but also with his ultimate ability will actually crowd control everyone. In addition, when you have him built out, it will do a damage amplification. So we have actually seen Leonardo run in the Raku formation. We have seen Leonardo run actually with the Eins formation and with the Dimensionals. We have seen Leonardo in a lot of combinations. Most recently, if you caught the live stream a little bit earlier, Leonardo was run with the Awakened version of Belinda. Again, Leonardo provides the crowd control, the damage amplification. Awakened version of Belinda can just crush them and actually absolutely kind of tear them down. Now, looking at our useful heroes, we have Baba Yaga. Now, there are specific comps where Baba Yaga does incredibly well. I don't want to underestimate her power, even though I do not use her very much. A lot of players have said Baba Yaga, even from our original tier list, has a lot of different places, guys, because of the crowd control, because of kind of the cheat death that she possesses. So when she takes fatal damage, she goes into the hut. When she comes out, she will ult and provide crowd control again, and still does a considerable amount of damage within the classifications. Again, depending on the build, depending on the heroes you have, Baba Yaga can find a place in a couple different formations. Then we have Yennefer. Yennefer is another hero, guys. We're seeing her within the Treasure Scramble, also seeing her utilized within the Temple Rift, finding her every now and then in a Cursed Realm comp. Again, with her, you have to build her out a little bit, but she provides an incredible amount of crowd control, also provides a pretty decent amount of damage. Overall usefulness with these heroes, guys, are very, very solid. Then we have Lorzen. Lorzen is still a hero used in a lot of formations, including the Thorn Cheese, including the Lucretia comps, for the linking ability. Even seen it with, again, the Awakened version of Belinda. We have seen it with Scarlet. We have seen it with a lot of different heroes because of that linking ability and being able to actually amplify the damage from the linked heroes when we have these other mages or other DPS heroes that are putting out an incredible amount of damage. Lorzen's link does work incredibly well, and his ultimate ability can make ultimate abilities hit harder, which is the reason, guys, still very useful. Now, when we get into the towers only, guys, some older players have the original version of Belinda that is still being utilized. Ultimately, as much as her damage has kind of dropped off, she still does have a blessing, which will give an amplification to a lot of other heroes. Specifically, we see her run with Thane, we see her with Belinda, we see her with Scarlet. We also do see her with Morrow. Now, Morrow is another one, guys. Does quite a bit of damage, especially if he is buffed up a little bit, but also provides a lot of crowd control. Now, of course, when it comes to the Lightbearer Tower, crowd control is super effective. He provides it within a bunch of different teams, depending on who you have built within those factions. Then we look at Ty Lee and we look at Thisu. Overall, guys, they are effective if they are built out. Unfortunately, they are not used anywhere outside of the tower that I know of. So the Twisted Realm, the Cursed Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, the Treasure Scramble, could see them occasionally in some campaign formations. But ultimately, I know a lot of players that have them built. Again, not seeing a ton of utility within those heroes. And then we have Kayleen. Kayleen is another one, guys. Not seeing a ton of utility within the game modes. We seen her for a little bit, very, very short-lived. Ultimately, again, within the tower, she'll be effective. She provides crowd control. She provides some damage. You could use her again in kind of some of the off teams, but overall, it seems like most of the damage she's doing and most of the utility that I am finding with her is in the tower specifically. And that kind of rings true with Zafriel. Now, Zap can be used in some PvP aspects. Again, you got to kind of have him built out, but when it comes to a majority of the common game modes, I'm not seeing him utilized as much within those game modes. And then down here, guys, we do have the mages. Yes, they are mages. Ullard is really very situational. I don't see, again, a lot of players running him. I don't see him in different game modes. Same with Satrana and with Sophia. Sophia, I believe she is in one Cursed Realm comp, which just, I believe now she's not even in that one anymore. But it's interesting to see, and that's Satrana. I think I might have said the wrong name. But overall, guys, again, not super effective. You can utilize them in the tower if you have them built up a little bit, but overall, the effectiveness, the utility of them, not really used very much. Then we have Solus. Solus, of course, with the Floral Spectre is the reason why a lot of players built her. But ultimately, when you start getting into deficiencies, she can't really do much damage at all. That Floral Spectre will stay dead the entire time. Even having her built out like I do on the Wilder account, not super effective. And a lot of these heroes, guys, between the faction accounts, I do utilize for the tower. I use for different formations. So I think I see them a little bit in a different light. Sometimes because I have them fully built. I mean, literally 309, 309 30, 309 60 on some of the heroes on some of the faction towers. Then, of course, we have Shamira. Unfortunately, I want to see more than ever the Awakened version of Shamira, guys. I feel like it would be just absolutely phenomenal to see the Awakened version or the resurgence of Shamira. Used to be a carry when Damon was introduced, really dropped off. Then she was used in Dark Namora. Once we got a couple other heroes, we got Scarlet, but we got the Awakened version of Solus. We got, Belinda, a couple other heroes in there. She fell out of formations. At this point, she's not really used anywhere. Which is the same with Isabella. We don't really see the utility. You could use her in the tower if you have her built, but overall, when it comes to the driving force or the damage heroes within the specific towers, she, again, can produce a little bit of damage if you have her built, but overall, not super effective. Then we have Flora, guys. Flora, again, a hero that I'm not even using within the towers, even double teams in the Celestial Towers. I am not using Flora at all. I know the stall comp, some players still do run, which could have, again, a little bit of utility within there. And then we have Muriel. Honestly, Muriel, I would probably, looking in the tower itself, I would probably move her up a little bit just because of the build that she is. Now, she does require quite a bit of an investment, but she is pretty useful in a couple different game modes. We're seeing her used a little bit in the towers. And the reason for the Celestial Tower, really one of the big ones, is within the Celestial Tower, guys, you lack a lot of damage. Now, she doesn't do an incredible amount of damage, but she does a little bit of crowd control when you have her built out, which again is the really utility with her. And same with Zap, guys. We see Zap as a crowd control hero. Then down here, we have the Awakened version of Aziz. Again, I don't use him for really anything. Maybe if you use him for a one-off Flora heroes to actually lock down Flora before she flies. But overall, guys, not really seeing a lot of utility within the towers. Isn't used in any game mode that I'm aware of at this point. Again, unfortunately, with him being an Awakened hero, most players, if you did build him during the swap, have swapped them. And then we have Valoris. So Valoris, again, had a little bit of utility within the Nightmare Corridor. I think most places she is not being used at this point. Even in the tower, guys, again, when it comes to the Hippo Tower, we have Lucretia in one tower. We also do have the Charmazard, so we have the Mahira and the Khazard in the other tower. So again, Valoris not seeing a lot of utility. We're not seeing her anymore in the Cursed Realm, the Nightmare Corridor. We're not seeing a lot of utility with this hero. As much as I like her and I like the build, her and Kayleen both, as much as I do like the heroes, they don't have an incredible amount of utility, which I know there's some players that are going to say, hey, absolutely, Valoris is 100%. And possibly with the Hypo team, I wonder if running with Matria. But again, I do not see that as of yet, guys. So majority of Matria teams are run with Kinisa and Rook. We are seeing Olgath in there. We are seeing Frampton, and we are seeing Mortis. Unfortunately, we are not seeing Valoris. Every now and then, we'll see the Awakened version of Aziz. But overall, I usually do not see that combination within the Treasure Scramble. And like I was saying, with the Cursed Realm, Matria is usually run by herself. So unfortunately, it does leave Valoris a little bit further back. So all right, guys, so that'll do it for our mages for today, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.